Good evening, San Diego. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. Well, conditions changed up in our forecast today. We had a lot more sunshine yesterday, and that's because we still have that area of high pressure. That was our main weather maker, but it's moving towards the east, and that's going to allow for a storm system to roll in. So ahead of that storm system, we had wind speeds picking up today. We had a wind advisory across the desert, still going all the way until about 11 p.m. tonight. And we also saw a lot more cloud cover that was moving through, but we did have some moments of sunshine out there, but the cloud cover was strong all ahead of that storm system. Now, where is it at right now? You're talking about it impacting across Northern California, where you're seeing scattered showers, even some heavier pockets of rainfall, and then the Sierra is dealing with snow. So this is going to be our next rain and mountain snow maker. There's that area of high pressure. It's like, come back. But we do have another one that's going to build in by next week. It's going to bring a warm up if you're just craving something that's a little bit more spring-like, and well, it's going to be on the way. But we have to get through this first. So this storm system does make an impact as we hit tonight through tomorrow. We've already started to have some misty conditions out there and also some raindrops on our Mount Soledad cam. So we are seeing some of that precipitation. It's been rather isolated, rather light for most part today, but a lot more of that moisture moving in once we get past midnight all the way through our Friday. As mentioned, the winds did pick up ahead of that storm system, and so we have a wind advisory that will keep going all the way until 11 p.m. tonight. The strongest gusts have been across the desert, upwards of about 60 miles per hour. We've seen some teens and 20s west of the mountains this evening, but things are going to be scaling back as we hit tomorrow's forecast. So not talking about really strong winds with this storm system, but you will definitely feel a breeze out there. It will rough up the surf and seas. We are looking at small craft advisory that's already in effect. That is for boaters, seas building up to about 6 to 11 feet. And then when it comes to the large breaking waves, back to 8 feet and peaking tomorrow morning with strong rip currents right along our coastline. While we're sleeping the overnight hours, a high surf advisory will go into effect, and that will last all the way through Saturday morning. And so by noon, that's when it will expire along our coastline. Things start to subside just a little bit more. We have snow in the forecast, so we are in spring. But this is more of a winter storm because you're talking about the impacts of snow. So we are talking about a cold low pressure system that's bringing in the snow for our forecast and a very low snow level, the lowest that it has been so far this season, down to about 3,000 feet. So snow in our mountains is expected. You're talking 4 to 6 inches for Julian, 6 inches for Mount Laguna, Palomar Mountain, and upwards of 6 to 8 inches. Also, with this winter weather advisory, slippery conditions because of gusty winds picking up. Roads will be slippery, gusty winds at the same time, about 50 to 70 miles per hour. So really dangerous conditions out there. Be mindful of that if you're in the mountains. You're going to be driving through the mountains or even just driving along the 8 for tomorrow. So this goes into effect. It already is. It went into effect around 4 p.m. earlier today, but continues all the way through 11 p.m. on Friday night. Let's set the clock in motion. So we are seeing some light precipitation out there. It's been some hit or miss, really light showers, and we could see that as we go throughout the evening. Another influx of moisture. This model is suggesting around 10:10 tonight, even a little bit heavier for the South Bay. Also seeing that extend from Escondido towards Valley Center. Then we get into the overnight hours. We'll have more clouds building in, still seeing some light precipitation out there, as well as the snow starting to develop across the mountains. That snow level getting down to that 3,000 foot mark, and that will be by tomorrow. So you are looking at a chance for some wet weather. Start off your day around 7:20, especially if you're going to be along the 805, exiting out of Chula Vista or going into. So we will have that extending all the way towards the Golden Triangle in the morning hours with some more moderate pockets out there near Ramona, as well as the South Bay, and snow still coming down in our mountains. Then we have more of an influx with the heating of the day, and that has light to moderate rainfall and even some pockets where it could be a little heavy at times, extending all the way from the South Bay towards Escondido as well as Ramona and across the mountains because the cold air settling in, then it turns into snow. Temperatures below 32 degrees. That's around 10:35 for tomorrow morning. Still looking at that activity as we hit the afternoon hours around 1:05. Also, isolated thunderstorms cannot be ruled out. Some instability with this low moving in, so we could be dealing with that activity at times. Still seeing the snow coming down, impacts, as mentioned, closer towards the 8, seeing that with shower activity for Ramona around 4 o'clock hour, and still looking at that activity moving through as we go through the evening hours, but it becomes more isolated. So the bulk of that moisture in the mornings for Friday as well in the afternoon hours. Things start to dry out as we get into the evening. more isolated in nature, and then cloud cover dries out. Also talking about a lot more sunshine, and then temperatures rebounding by Saturday as that storm system does exit. When it comes to our rainfall totals, this is not going to be as strong as the last one we had. You have to remember that one was a 1-2 punch. We had an atmospheric river that was picked up by the dip in the jet stream, and then we had the area of low pressure that moved over us and brought in even more wet weather. So with this one, most models have been suggesting anywhere for most of the county about 1/4 of an inch of rainfall to a little bit more than 1/2 inch. You're seeing that 1/4 of an inch being possible for Del Mar as well as for Carlsbad, a little bit more than that, and that would be for downtown. Also seeing a little bit more than 1/2 inch for Ramona. Could see for Alpine 1 inch of rainfall, potentially dealing with some isolated thunderstorms being possible too. So most of the moisture is going to fall all the way from the coast towards the mountains, the desert. Most of those impacts are going to come in the form of wind speeds picking up that you had earlier today, still with that breeze by tomorrow, and then the colder air that's going to settle in, bringing down temperatures. Daytime highs yesterday were in the 80s for the desert, and we're now talking about the 60s when it comes to highs by tomorrow. So this one packing a punch, dropping temperatures that we had that were in the 60s and 70s yesterday, and we were talking about being even a little bit warmer than usual in some spots. So that was about a 10 to 30 degree increase in temperatures compared to what you're going to feel tomorrow. So we are dropping with those temperatures as we hit Friday because of this cold low pressure system that's moving in. So it's creating that dip in the jet stream, but as mentioned, not as big of a dip that's going to tap into an atmospheric river. So we're not expecting the heavy rainfall, the widespread rainfall that we had last weekend that extended across the entire county. Then we have a drier weekend in the works. We're going to have 60, so temperatures trying to rebound after we deal with this cold low that's going to move through, and you're seeing more moments of sunshine and less with the wet weather. We have another area of low pressure that will move in by Monday. I was talking about this one earlier this week because models were suggesting we had a chance when it came to more wet weather, even some shower activity to start off our week. So for Monday, well, they're actually scaling back. When you look at the model now, you're seeing a lot less moisture impacting for us here across Southern California, and particularly for San Diego County. And that's because this low looks to move across the Pacific Northwest first, so that helps to dry it out moving over land, and then make that dip towards the south. So we're not talking about a big rainmaker for us, maybe a few hundredths of an inch here or there being possible, but it's also a very slight chance that even that activity could happen, and that would be on Monday. And then we gear up for a ridge of high pressure that's going to be building in, clearing out everything, the cloud cover, warming up temperatures. We're going even above seasonal, 80s returning to some spots, including 90s too when it comes to our daytime highs by next week. So we'll get to those details coming up. But yeah, high pressure is going to be our main weather maker by next week. So that dries everything out. Before we get to that point, we got the rain to get through tomorrow and the mountain snow. And then you're noticing that downward trend when it comes to rain chances by this weekend as we sit in between storm systems. And there's your slight chance, 17%. And that's on Monday before we entirely dry out with that big ridge of high pressure that I just showed you. So daytime highs for tomorrow for most of the county, you're talking about some 50s west of the mountains. So 56 degrees for inland areas. Isolated thunderstorms cannot entirely be ruled out, as well as rain right along the coast, and 59 degrees expected to be daytime high. We rebound with more sunshine behind that storm system by this weekend. We are looking at widespread 60s. We still hold on to similar temperatures by Monday. No major impacts really expected with that next area of low pressure. But then you're noticing the temperatures increasing, going back into the 80s and 70s. So 80s across inland areas, also the 70s across the coast. Temperatures warming up, feeling more like spring, getting some of that heat. I know a lot of people have been talking about it's been too cold, especially when you're talking about being in April. Well, we're going to change up the forecast just a little bit more, all courtesy of that big ridge of high pressure I just showed you. You got 43 degrees. That is the high tomorrow for the mountains, but starting off with those temperatures pretty low and that freezing mark, so that's going to help when it comes to the snow. 61 degrees expected for the desert by tomorrow, rebounding quite quickly into those 70s by the weekend for the desert, and then you have 90s that are set to return for Wednesday, and that's going to keep going all the way until Friday of next week. Also, that gradual warm up being felt across the mountains for this weekend before the mountains even get pretty close to 80-degree marks. So we're going to be in the upper 70s around this time next week for the mountains, and just talking about all the sunshine that's going to be taking us all the way into the start of the weekend. So not too bad in that forecast. But do be careful for tomorrow. Any additional alerts that would be sent out, you would get that right there on your phone if you have our CBS 8 Plus weather app, or app, but there's weather on it. So just go ahead and keep that phone nice and handy for tomorrow, especially with slick roads in the forecast. I hope you have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.